She sat at the long, decorated table, a single candle flickering on the cake in front of her. The room was silent, except for the hum of the air conditioner. No friends, no laughter, no one coming through the door. Just a little girl in a wheelchair waiting. Then a man paused at the doorway. A stranger, a black single dad with his young son. He looked at her, then asked one simple question that would change both of their lives. What happened next would not only fill that empty room, it would capture the hearts of millions. It was supposed to be her special day. 7 years old, the daughter of one of the wealthiest CEOs in the city. Yet here she was, in a quiet corner of an enormous banquet hall, her wheelchair barely reaching the table's edge. The cake was perfect, layered with sugar roses and shining under the chandelier's glow. But the chairs around her were empty. Her father was overseas on business. Her mother, gone for years. The staff had been told to make it nice, but they stayed in the background, busy with their duties. Guests had been invited, but one by one, the excuses arrived. Some had prior commitments. Some simply didn't come. And so, the little girl sat alone, her hands folded in her lap, eyes fixed on the candle she would soon blow out, by herself. Outside, life bustled. A single father, Marcus, pushed open the restaurant door with his young son's small hand in his. They had no plans beyond sharing a cheap slice of cake at the cafe counter, a rare treat in their modest life. But as Marcus looked toward the banquet hall, he saw her, the paralyzed girl in the sparkling dress, surrounded by balloons yet wrapped in a loneliness so heavy it seemed to fill the air. Marcus hesitated. It wasn't his business, yet something in his chest tightened, a pull he couldn't ignore. He glanced at his son, then back at her, and made a choice that would turn an empty birthday into something unforgettable. Marcus stepped closer, his footsteps echoing against the polished floor. The girl's eyes lifted from the cake, startled but curious. Her small, fragile hands gripped the arms of her wheelchair, as though bracing herself for disappointment yet again. "Hi," Marcus said gently, lowering himself to her eye level. "Mind if we join you?" Her lips parted slightly, as if the question itself was a gift. She gave a timid nod. Within minutes, Marcus's son, Caleb, was sitting beside her, staring wide-eyed at the towering cake, like it was a treasure from a dream. Marcus asked the nearest staff member if they could bring 2 extra plates. The man hesitated, a sharp glance at the girl, then at Marcus, but eventually returned with the plates and forks. They lit the candle again. This time, Marcus leaned forward and said, "On 3, you make the wish, okay?" Caleb counted aloud, his voice bright. The girl closed her eyes, her face bathed in the warm glow, and blew gently. For the first time that day, she smiled small, cautious, but real. The 3 of them began talking. Not about her wheelchair, not about why she was alone, but about cartoons, favorite ice cream flavors, and a dog Marcus once had that used to steal shoes. Caleb made her laugh, a sharp, clear laugh that rang out in the empty hall like music. But Marcus noticed the way the waitstaff kept glancing their way, whispering. One of them disappeared into the kitchen. Soon after, a tall man in a dark suit approached. His voice was cold, almost rehearsed. "This area is reserved," he said flatly. Marcus straightened. "We were just keeping her company. It's her birthday." The man's gaze hardened. "Sir, I think you should leave." Marcus's jaw tightened. He looked at the little girl, the sudden fear in her eyes, the way she gripped her wheelchair again. He looked at Caleb, confused but watching closely. Walking away would be easier, quieter. But something inside Marcus, the part of him that had seen too many moments like this, where silence meant acceptance, refused to move. He smiled at the girl. "We're not leaving until you've had the best birthday wish ever." The man in the suit stepped closer, his voice sharp now. "Sir." And that's when the doors at the far end of the hall swung open. The echo of footsteps filled the room as a figure strode in, tall, sharply dressed, and radiating authority. Conversations halted. Even the man in the suit stiffened. It was her father. The CEO's eyes swept the scene. The untouched cake, the empty chairs, the staff frozen at the edges, and then his gaze landed on Marcus and Caleb, standing protectively beside his daughter. "Who are you?" His voice was low, but edged with steel. Marcus didn't flinch. Just a dad. Who do want to see your little girl spend her birthday alone? The CEO's expression flickered. Just for a second, confusion, then something else. His daughter's small voice broke the silence. Daddy, they made me laugh. The man's eyes softened as he crouched beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Is that true? He asked quietly. She nodded, gripping Marcus's hand. Before the moment could settle, the man in the suit interjected. Sir, they? The CEO raised a hand, silencing him. No, not another word. He turned back to Marcus. Thank you. I didn't realize. His voice trailed off, heavy with unspoken guilt. The staff shifted awkwardly. Caleb's small hand slid into his father's, sensing the tension but not the history. The CEO looked around the room, the empty seats, the wasted decorations, and his face hardened again, but this time at the people who were supposed to be there. He straightened. Sit, he said to Marcus and Caleb. You're our guests now. Marcus hesitated, then nodded, guiding his son into a chair. The girl's face glowed brighter than the candles as her father moved to the head of the table. And as the three of them began to laugh again, something shifted in the air, an unspoken acknowledgement that kindness, even from a stranger, had bridged a gap that money never could. The rest of the afternoon unfolded like a different life. A life where laughter replaced the echo of silence, and the little girl's smile lit up more than just the candles. Marcus and Caleb stayed, sharing cake, stories, and the kind of easy joy that doesn't need fancy decorations or a guest list to feel real. For the first time that day, the CEO wasn't a businessman. He was simply a father, watching his daughter come alive again. He saw how Marcus leaned in when she spoke, how Caleb's playful teasing made her giggle until tears filled her eyes. And with each moment, the guilt weighed heavier. All his resources, all his power. Yet it took a stranger to give his daughter the gift she needed most: presence. As the plates emptied and the last crumbs of cake were gone, the CEO pulled Marcus aside. His voice was quieter now. I owe you more than I can say. You reminded me what matters. Marcus shook his head. You don't owe me. Just be there for her. That's all she needs. The CEO nodded, his eyes wet. You have my word. When Marcus and Caleb finally left, the little girl wheeled herself to the doorway, waving until they disappeared down the street. That wave was more than gratitude. It was a promise to herself that this day, against all odds, would be remembered not for the loneliness at the start, but for the kindness that rewrote its ending. And somewhere in the quiet moments after the party, the CEO sat alone and realized, sometimes it's not wealth or status that changes a life. Sometimes it's a single question from a stranger who chooses to care. So I'll ask you, how many moments like this do we walk past every day without stopping? And how many lives could change if we simply said, can we join you? If this story reminded you that compassion still exists, that people are more than just headlines, subscribe now. More stories are coming, stories that touch the heart, challenge the mind, and remind us that one small act can change everything.